Hi guys, my name is Rafael Pereira, and this group will be presenting for you guys all the information concerning about renewable energy and environment. So today renewable energy play an important part of political parties game because many people they want to understand very well how those parties how they're gonna handle natural resource issues. Renewable energy, any natural resource that can replace itself quickly and dependably. An energy source that can never ever be used up. Renewable energy sources are hydro energy, as well as known as hydropower. It's a very clean and powerful method for generating electricity from trapped water. Geothermal energy is a reliable source depending on location. It's commonly used to provide a source of heating of hot water for households using a ground source of heat pumps. It also can be used as an energy source for power station in appropriate areas. Solar energy can be somewhat unreliable depending on the placement, location, and surrounding environment of the solar cells. Tidal energy can be used to create electricity from the large energy force behind the tides. The first and most important question is why renewable energy is so important. Today is representing how the government will be handle issues like the future, how they're gonna handle issues related to the natural resource in a wise way.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I would like to share with you some of the Republicans' current legislation from 2011. The goal of the Republican Party is to balance their environmental goals with economic growth and job creation. Theodore Roosevelt said it this way: "The conservation of natural resources is the fundamental problem. Unless we solve that problem, it will avail us little to solve all others." By balancing environmental jobs with economic growth and job creation, our diverse economy has made possible the investment needed to safeguard natural resources, protect endangered species, and create healthier living conditions. There are 12 bills that have been passed and are now acts, however, I will only be touching on 4. The first is H.R. 1904, the Southeast Arizona Land Exchange and Conservation Act of 2011. This authorizes a fair value land exchange in Southeast Arizona that would open up a third of the world's largest underdeveloped copper resource. Congressman Paul Gosar said, "It is a perfect example of how responsibly developing natural resources can help put people back to work." He also said this is the first step in mining projects that support 3,700 jobs and over $220 million in annual wages. These are private sector jobs, not governmental jobs that rely on taxes. The Department of Defense indicated that copper ranks second, behind aluminum, in defense industrial applications. The U.S. currently imports 30% of our country's copper demand. This, like imported foreign oil, potentially threatens the U.S. industry. So this project could potentially produce enough copper to support 25% of our copper demand. The next act that I will be going over is H.R. 1229. This is the Putting the Gulf Back to Work Act. This puts an end to the Obama administration de facto moratorium in the Gulf of Mexico in a safe, responsible, transparent manner by setting firm timelines for considering permits to drill, which provides certainty and allows employers and workers to get back to their jobs. The third would be restarting American Offshore Leasing Now Act. This is H.R. 1230, and it requires the Obama administration to move forward promptly to conduct offshore lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico and offshore Virginia that the Obama administration has delayed or canceled. The last but not least is H.R. 1231, reversing President Obama's Offshore Moratorium Act. This lifts the president's ban on new offshore drilling by requiring the administration to move forward in 2012 through 2017 lease plan with energy production in areas containing the most oil and natural gas resources. All of this information has been provided by the naturalresources.house.gov website.
Now that we know what renewable energy is, we can start to look at what the Republican Party, what their views are on this matter. We'll start with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney believes that American energy independence, so that we can have ourselves free from oil-rich companies. He believes that if we have independence and we can rely on our own oil, that America will become an economic and military superpower. He said the United States must become energy independent. This does not mean no longer importing or using oil. It means making sure that our nation's future will always be in our hands. Our decisions and destiny cannot be bound to the whims of oil-producing states. Just about every resource is on the table for Mitt Romney. Nuclear energy, biodiesel, ethanol, and natural gas are all worth looking into and exploring. There's no clear plan here, but there is an obvious need for self-reliance rather than dependence on foreign oil. His stance is a little bit different than other Republican candidates because he believes that the rid of this oil addiction will lead to America's having an even stronger military. Now, Romney is a very successful and wealthy man, and he believes that energy vehicle production, that it is not bad, but it becomes bad whenever we use government money to bail them out if something doesn't succeed. So producing them is fine, but whenever they don't succeed and ask the government for help, that's where we go wrong. Next, we'll look at Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich said, contrary to popular belief, America has more energy than any other nation on earth. All that's keeping us from becoming energy independent is a lack of political will to do so. He's different than other candidates because he has actually written a book detailing his plan. This book is called A Contract with the Earth. Newt is strongly in favor of nuclear energy and domestic oil drilling, which is drilling here. And he recognizes a need for federal tax incentives that encourage clean energy choices. He has also written these other books called Drill Here, Drill Now, Pay Less, a handbook for slashing gas prices and solving our energy crisis. Another quote from Newt Gingrich, we ought to have a massive all-sources energy program in the United States designed to, once again, create a surplus of energy here so we could say to the Europeans pretty cheerfully that all the various sources of oil we have in the United States, we could literally replace the Iranian oil. So similar to Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich wants to be more dependent on our own sources rather than having to continue looking elsewhere for foreign oil. His past published works have shown his positivity toward energy vehicles as a viable clean energy solution, though there has been nothing lately in the press that he has said about energy vehicles. Next, we'll move on to Ron Paul. Ron Paul thinks that each state should pass their own environmental laws, not the federal government. Ron Paul supports nuclear, wind, solar, and any other forms of energy production, but the government should not have the right to take money from another and subsidize the energy desires of someone else. Paul has noted that protection of the environment is not a function that the Constitution allows the federal government to perform, so he has called for an end to the EPA. And he shares Mitt Romney's view of energy vehicles, going along with what he just said in that quote, where he believes that in a free world, they should be able to try and to attempt to do these things with energy vehicles, but if they don't succeed, they can't look to other energy resources or even to the government to bail them out and to allow them to keep trying whenever they have already failed. Now let's look at Rick Santorum. Santorum said that in all of the above energy policy that uses oil, natural gas, coal, and nuclear energy to power our economy would empower the American world. He says that we will open up our own energy resources here in America, and by doing so, we will lead the world. Rick said he would phase out all energy subsidies, and he opposes creating incentives for different forms of energy that the government supports. He supports offshore and Arctic drilling because he believes that we need as much domestic supply as we can get, and in doing so, it will also provide more jobs. He is a major supporter of coal, and while nothing lately has come out about energy vehicles, his stance more lies along the lines of Mitt Romney and Ron Paul.